Now call the May 21st, 2018 Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. If you would stand with me, observe a moment of silence, and we're going to have Boy Scout Troop 362 from St. John Lalonde come and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance at the appropriate time. And that's when I turn around and look at you. Now a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Troop 362. Come back and see us again. I want to welcome you in attendance, as well as those that might be watching on cable TV, to tonight's City Council meeting. Next, we have the consent agenda. Okay, nobody needing to pull anything? I accept the motion for approval.
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kaler.
Aye.
Councilman Levesey.
Aye.
Councilman Fowler.
Aye.
Councilman Carter.
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson.
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper.
Aye.
Mayor Ross.
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Next, we have a public hearing on a de-annexation of property located generally at 1750 East Pink Hill Road. We'll go to our city attorney.
Mayor, the city
Did you
has
do it first?
No.
Okay.
We enter this into the record. Mayor, the city has the following exhibit to enter into the record: City Council information form with attachments, staff report with attachments, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on April 28, 2018, applications with attachments of 185-foot notification map, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letter sent to said property owners, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference, order approving annexation dated May 6, 1974, and bill number 4573 approving the de-annexation. This is all we have to offer for the record.
Okay, we're going to go to Mike first before we go to our city attorney, or do we go to you first? Who wants to go first?
I'd like to make a statement first,
Okay.
Your Honor, members of the council. I wanted to give some preliminary background information to you about this property before you that the Dunnings are requesting to be de-annexed from the city into the county. This was part of a large annexation process that was brought by the city. So it was an involuntary annexation into the city in 1973. That's when the process started. It was finalized in 1974. The city passed ordinances annexing this property, and it was ultimately approved by a circuit court judge in 1974. The reason I want to discuss this is that under the statute that this property was annexed under, which has changed many times since 1974, there is a 5-year statute of limitations for bringing a petition to de-annex. However, the Planning Commission has heard this and made the decision to not take into consideration the 5-year statute of limitations. And the reason that they did that is because the city, as part of the annexation, has to, and this is under the statute, has to develop a plan of intent to provide services to the area proposed for annexation. The city has not done that for this particular property. It has no city sewer, and it has independent city water, and there is no plan now to bring city water or sewer to this area. That was also made a part of the judge's order that was signed in April of 1974. And the very last part of his order reads, the plaintiff, City of Blue Springs, is able to furnish its normal municipal services to said unincorporated area within a reasonable time after said annexation is to become effective. And under the particular facts of this petition, which I believe are distinct and unique, I would request and make a recommendation that you go ahead and hear the city's presentation and also hear from the applicants.
Okay, Mike.
Thank you. Mike Mallon, Assistant Director for Community Development on behalf of the city. The request is a application for consideration of a de-annexation of approximately 1 acre. The property is located here highlighted in black and white. It's located south of East Pink Hill Road and east of Northeast Jellison Road. The applicants, Herbert Dunning, Linda Dunning, and William Dunning, own not only this parcel here, but as you can see, they own the parcel directly to the north, which is in unincorporated Jackson County. The request for de-annexation stems from the applicant's desire to build an accessory garage or pole barn on their unincorporated property to the north due to the development regulations of Jackson County, which I believe include a 50-foot setback to the city limit property line, where the applicants are able to build a detached accessory structure. They're not able to comply with that development regulation, and therefore they have requested to de-annex the property that is within the city limits so that both properties are under the same jurisdictional control. Again, the property is highlighted in black and white. It is currently vacant. The city limit boundary is the thick black line that runs along Pink Hill Road and then kind of jogs here along the south of the road and then back over towards the west. The staff review of the application is that the proposed de-annexation does not have a negative impact on the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. The subject property is in a rural portion of the city, is landlocked in that it does not front any public rights-of-way, roads, or streets, and is owned by the same property owner, both properties under the same ownership. Excuse me. The location of the property along the northern outer boundary of the city would not create any holes or gaps within the overall city boundary should this de-annexation be approved. The current property, as previously mentioned, is currently served by City of Independence Water and has a septic system. The city has no capital improvement projects planned to extend services, water and sewer, to this property, and there are no development proposals in process or that staff is aware of that as part of that development process would be required to extend utilities that then could serve this property. As such, the staff finds that the de-annexation of the subject property to be within the same jurisdictional control as the primary residence is appropriate and complies with section 100.065 of the Blue Springs City Code of Ordinances. That is staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Mike, from council? Councilman Fowler.
Yes, Your Honor. I hear the situation on this, and boy, this goes back a long way if it goes back to the 70s. I guess I'm wondering what other parcels are in that vicinity that may have also been in the 70s and says, hey, you did it for them, now go do it for me. Is this going to have a trickle effect or anything like that?
We have not heard from any of the other property owners. The approximate line of annexation back in the 70s, there were 6 or more parcels all throughout the city that were approved at the same time, and that approximate annexation line ran right across here. So some of these other ones, especially here at the corner of Pink Hill and Jellison, were annexed at a later date. So I can't answer that question because we haven't heard from any of the other property owners.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thanks, Mike. Would the applicant like to come be sworn in and make any comments?
You sound swear the testimony about in this case, you did the truth, something like that?
I do.
What's your name and address?
William Dunning, 1750 East Pink Hill Road, Green Valley, Missouri. It seems loud. Mike pretty well explained it. This process started with us wanting to build a barn or a shed to store stuff in, and we wasn't aware of the necessity of them being in 2 different jurisdictions, one in Blue Springs and that. In fact, I wasn't personally aware of the 2 different jurisdictions until at the end of the first year that we bought it, we got 2 different tax bills. And at that time, I went to the realtor and say, "What's up?" And then they explained to me that 1 acre, a little over 1 acre, was in the city of Blue Springs, and the rest was in unincorporated. And so our desire is just to put up a building there. We've looked at other places on the property to build with the trees and the septic tank, and there's no really other places that would be good to build on there that would cost a lot more money to take out, cut down trees and do all kinds of excavation. Any questions?
Are there any questions, council? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the audience. Anyone in the audience like to speak in support of? In support of? Opposition to? Opposition to? Closes public hearing. That brings us to an ordinance that would do the de-annexation.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4573, an ordinance de-annexing 1.0 plus or minus acres out of corporate limits of the city of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4573, an ordinance de-annexing 1.0 plus or minus acres out of the corporate limits of the city of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on second reading, given the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Given ordinance number 4743.
Next, we have introduction and reading of Bill 4574.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4574, an ordinance approving a settlement agreement with KCP&L entities in connection with the collection of municipal taxes and codifying the adoption thereof by adding a new section 645.080 settlement agreement to the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4574, an ordinance approving a settlement agreement with KCP&L entities in connection with the collection of municipal taxes and codifying the adoption thereof by adding a new section 645.080 settlement agreement to the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on second reading, given the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Given ordinance number 4744.
Next, we have an introduction and reading of Bill 4575.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4575, an ordinance repealing Section 120.520E of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, selecting a recording secretary for the Human Relations Commission.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Both same sign.
Second reading of Bill Number 4575, an ordinance repealing Section 120.520E of the Code of Ordinances, City of Blue Springs, Missouri, selecting a recording secretary for the Human Relations Commission.
Move the bill be approved on second reading, given the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper?
Aye.
Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously. Given ordinance number 4745.
That brings us to mayoral announcements. The next weekend is being Memorial Day weekend. I think most of you probably saw in the news where there was a boating accident over the weekend at the lake where 3 people were killed, 3 people were killed and 2 injured, which is a tragedy. And I don't know if alcohol was involved. I think I'd heard something about it, but you know, Lake of the Ozarks, and I've been down there for a lot of years, especially at night. You don't know what kind of debris, in addition to maybe being intoxicated, and the dangers that it can happen. So anybody listening to the sound of my voice, I just implore you to be very safe over the holiday weekend, especially if you're going down to the lake. A lot of times boating and alcohol don't mix.
Your Honor,
Yes.
if I could jump in real quick.
Sure.
I'd like to thank our Public Works Director for an outstanding Public Works celebration we annually do. They had a really good crowd, and they put on a great show, and I just want to compliment you, and if you'd pass along to your staff, they did an excellent job. Thank you.
I'm sure Chris will take that back to his people.
I second that, Mayor.
Okay. We got a second of the accolades. All right. Now, thoughts to ponder. Tonight, as Councilman Kaler as well as Councilman Culpepper will note, this quote is very similar to the comments that I make at their graduations. Not exact, but similar. And it's from Napoleon Hill, and it says, "What the mind of man cannot conceive and believe, it can be achieved." I think man has a little more to it than that.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, I don't have any visitors appearance forms, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to move item 12 up, which on the agenda it says work session public officials liability training. So we're going to do the training. After our city attorney does the training, then we'll come back and make a motion to go into executive session. We don't have anybody.
We don't.
Yeah, I think we did. Then we'll come back with a motion to go in executive session, which will adjourn upon that.
Do you want a motion to amend the agenda?
I don't think you do, do you? Okay. Yeah, no, I can just move stuff around if I need to. Okay, so we're going to defer to our city attorney to provide some exciting. We can hardly wait every year for this training.
Do you mind if I just sit here?
Yes.
I don't have PowerPoint.
Yes, I think we're all comfortable with that.
Well, we had public official liability training about a year ago, and we don't have any new members, and I made the presentation in full back then, so I thought I would just talk about 3 things that have kind of come up since the last training. The first thing I wanted to talk about, and it's been in the news, is the use of secret texting apps. I want to make sure that the council does not use secret texting apps for any kind of city business. As you know, it's been an issue at the state level with the governor, who he and his staff were using the Confide app, but I understand there's other apps out there that do the same thing. It makes texts disappear right after they're sent, and then they're not available and they're not open to the public. And don't know if the governor was conducting state business, but it needs to, you cannot use that type of an app for any kind of city business. And as part of that, I wanted to mention that if you use your cell phone or emails for city business, just know that whatever you write can be made public. So be very careful about writing in any format whatsoever. In that State versus Greitens case, both Governor Greitens' cell phone and the, not going to call her the victim, but the witness's cell phone were both ordered by the court to be viewed, everything on it. The emails, all the data on the cell phones, and all the images on the cell phones. Now that's a court case that was done through discovery, but it's still applicable if you're ever involved in a lawsuit. And the other thing is you can't destroy evidence. You can't delete those. If they have city business on them, if you've been ordered to turn them over, that's called spoliation of evidence. And that's, for the most cases, not allowed in Missouri. So I think you should assume that all text messages, all emails are open under the Sunshine Law, and probably even more open in discovery in a lawsuit. Okay, the second thing I wanted to talk about is emails. And I want to make sure that everyone here is using your city email for any city business and not a personal or business email, because if you use your business's email, then the business can view anything that, it's their property. They can view anything you've sent. It also opens up the city's and your personal business to Sunshine Law and also discovery in a lawsuit. So my advice is don't write anything in an email, a text, or any other kind of social media if you don't want it on the front page of the Kansas City Star. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about was a recent lawsuit that was filed against the city of Sugar Creek. This was, and it went to trial. And this was a lawsuit filed against the city for a violation of the Sunshine Law that took place in their closed executive sessions. And it went back 10 plus years. Apparently, the city clerk for Sugar Creek was not taking minutes in closed meetings, didn't think she had to. The votes taken in their closed meetings were not roll call votes. In fact, there was evidence in this case that they were just nods of the head. So the result of that trial was that the judge found that the city did violate the Sunshine Law, but the judge didn't find that it was a knowing violation or an intentional violation, and didn't award any kind of money damages. But I want to make sure that we abide by the Sunshine Law, which I have copies here if anyone needs another copy of the Sunshine Law booklet. And I want to say that the plaintiff in that case was asking for over $1 million against the city.
Wow. Did they have it?
No. Any questions? That's all I have.
Any questions of our city attorney?
So I was just saying that to most of us, I think having every word that we write published on the front of the Kansas City Star, that does sound a little intimidating, but one of our members is in the marketing area and may actually, I saw his eyes light up when you said that, so like, free advertisement, right?
I'm just going to stop sending you pictures on Snapchat.
Anyone else? Okay, now I'm going to go to the city attorney for a so moved motion.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, the appropriate motion would be to move that this public body go into closed session pursuant to Section 610.021, subparagraphs 2 and 9, revised statutes of Missouri, for the purpose of privileged communications between a governmental body or its representative and legal counsel, including real estate and negotiations with employee groups, and that any minutes, documents, and other records discussed or taken during the closed session remain closed, and that this body stand adjourned at the completion of such session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Culpepper? Aye. Councilman Kaler?
Aye.
Councilman Levisay?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Mayor Ross?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Okay, we're going to be excused to the council executive conference room.